Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and in the absence of any ship updates, this is the Piracy Show. In the upcoming update, we're getting, of course, Xeno Threat, a new and improved version of Xeno Threat. We're possibly getting pirates assaulting a Crusader station in the near future, and we're also possibly going to see the return of Jumptown. But there is a suggestion that I would like to make. Something that may not appeal to a lot of people in the community, but this comes from like a personal preference. One of my all-time favorite books is Dune. And Dune is on a list of probably about 3 or 4 books that I read maybe once a year. If not, sometimes a little bit more often than that. It sounds a little weird, I know, but there are a few books that I find myself reading over and over and over again. And one of the best parts about Dune for me is the constant struggle for survival in the desert. You know, the idea of having to cross vast distances in the desert and, minimize your expenditure of energy, conserve water, protect what food you have, that sort of thing. And survival is a critical element in Star Citizen. Recently we talked about body armors, and I feel that the undersuits should carry the properties that allow you to resist temperature or extreme environments, and that the armor should be additive onto that. And it should reflect perhaps more physical protection against physical damage, extra carrying capacity, so on and so forth. Now there can be all-encompassing suits that kind of do a little bit of both. We certainly have 2 extreme environments, or is it 2? Yeah, one for cold, one for hot. But and they kind of count as a bodysuit, except for the helmet. But I would like to see a mission put into the game that allows players to explore the limits of survival. When we did the original Pirate Swarm, we got a badge for Spectrum. I forget the exact name of the title now, but when we did that, we got a special badge that signified to other players, if we put it up next to our name in Spectrum, that we had completed the Pirate Swarm. And we also got access to the Pirate Caterpillar. But I was thinking that survival is something that we kind of play with, but we never really test the limits of. We never really test, the gameplay, and we never really try to push that survival as far as we can. And honestly, I would like to see a mission in game that, kind of like the movie Dune or the book, allows players to land at a site, somewhere in Daymar, and then just, walk off into the desert, and you have to reach certain checkpoints through the desert. And while you're doing that, you have to track down certain resources. You could provide certain tools that a player can carry with them. So perhaps a very short range scanning tool, and perhaps a tool that allows you to kind of plug it into your suit that, let's say you find plants or any kind of vegetation as you're walking through the desert. You can pick up certain plants, put them in, this device, and it would kind of convert them down to water, and you could use that to, maintain the water supply in your armor, which allows you to survive and also keeps you cool, that sort of thing. You could perhaps find certain abandoned locations or crashed ships or crashed vehicles or things like that allow you to gain access to oxygen and things like that. And just, allow players to go on a survival trek through the desert. And, the first couple ones, not too difficult, not too hard, but they get progressively longer and longer and longer the more difficult, you choose, the more difficult path you choose. As you kind of complete them, you gain access to more difficult ones. And as you're wandering through the desert, you can come up on certain challenges. Perhaps you do find a large supply of water and oxygen and, perhaps food. Well, food would be problematic because you can't really get it into the helmet. But, I mean, you could see how, like, a small drinking tube could be part of your spacesuit or something like that. Maybe you could have, like, some kind of nutrient-enriched water or something like that. But as you're going through the desert, maybe you come up on certain challenges where there's an NPC guarding some supplies and you have to sneak up on them with maybe all you're given is like a survival knife as a weapon. And you have to go in and kind of either kill them straight out or sneak up on them and do a takedown and then take those supplies and continue on through the desert. I think that would be really interesting gameplay. And I don't think that it would be all that challenging to set up, apart from adding the additional mechanics of, like, let's say a water supply or something like that. Now, the basic mechanics of food, water, oxygen have been in the game oxygen has been in the game since pretty much the beginning of 3.0, but certainly food and water are more recent additions. But it's not really a system that we interact with. It's not really a system that we're conscious of. It's, at most, it's an inconvenience. Right now, it's like, oh, yeah, man, I got to go get some water. Oh, yeah, I got to go get some food. And really, with the mishaps and the disconnects that we suffer in the game, we don't really have a lot of opportunities to kind of interact with the system in a meaningful way, in a challenging way. And I find myself kind of looking at the current state of the game, and I realize there's a lot of things that aren't there, but I kind of look for kind of lower kind of effort ways to kind of introduce interesting gameplay using existing things in the game, ways to kind of change it up. And you could institute a reward system based on this, like perhaps the old desert armor that I think I still have up on the cover page of my YouTube channel. That type of armor could be something that you're awarded for having completed up to a certain level of these kind of walks through the desert. And you could perhaps create the L6 the L6 sniper rifle, or is it the M6, the ballistic, more traditional sniper rifle. You could perhaps create a desert camo version of that is unique to the players, or perhaps even a sniper rifle that isn't so many of the firearms in Star Citizen look manufactured, whereas maybe there should be some weapons in Star Citizen that look like they're cobbled together from existing components. They're kind of like Frankenstein guns or weapons where different pieces have been brought together to make the finished weapon. Maybe it's a little bit rusty. Maybe it's got some rags wrapped around the barrel to kind of break up its shape and color and make it a little bit more stealthy. Things like that. And we could create a similar reward system for the cold. I think that would be something that I would like to see added to the game. Because, it strikes me that we've had this desert, and let's be honest, it's a beautiful desert. It's a fantastic desert. And even just the iterations of this that we have gotten since 3.0 came out, it is solidly improved, but we don't really interact with it in a meaningful way. I just think that putting up little challenges like this that, make us think about the properties of survival within Star Citizen and the physical limitations of our characters. And, also giving us a chance to give feedback like, we dehydrate a little too fast, or, we need to eat a little too often. Things like that. I don't know, maybe it's just me, and because of my own personal tastes and the things that I like to see in games, I would actually like to see this challenge. I think it would be kind of like a meaningful single player kind of challenged, allow us to kind of, find out what we think the limits are in the game, and then see how we can push them, how we can become better with a scanner, or maybe as we kind of graduate up through the levels, we get access to better tools that allow us to, go further into the mission. I would like to see something like that in Star Citizen. I think, I don't think it would be all that difficult to implement something like that. And I think, the replayability would certainly pay dividends given the current state of the game for everyone. It would make things a lot more interesting, I think. And a great way for players to say, oh, how far have you gotten into it? Oh, I've gotten up to level 6. It's like, oh, I've gotten up to level 13. It's like, damn, now I got to get up to level 13 and beat this guy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe being a certain level of desert survival specialist in Star Citizen gains us access to unique missions, or, unique contacts who can open up different possibilities in the future of Star Citizen. Just something interesting. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. Just something with a little replayability and a certain amount of challenge that doesn't require the developers to do a whole lot of work to kind of get that into the game. But yeah, that's definitely something I would like to see added to the game in the not too distant future.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.